It's Sunday night. It's 8 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live, back at our usual time. I hope you all enjoyed the Super Bowl. I know I didn't. Mike, you're right. Mike, you're right. Mike had the Hawks. One in a row.
I'd like to have been more right this week with my picks.
We're still working on them. They're not complete yet. We got a game that just started, so we're gonna see how that goes before we do that, because all of us were falling on our face this week. But hey, if they don't see it, they don't know about it. Anyway, welcome to the show. We got a busy week for you. We got a lot of NLL games. We had the trade deadline go by in ALL. We have some information, some news, some things upcoming, as well as we're going to look at report cards for the midway point of the season and where these teams stand and should they be standing. Anyways, before we get rolling, I have Shawn Slaght as usual over in Moose Jaw. Shawn, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good now. Thanks, Gary.
Good. Welcome back, man. Glad to see you're upright. Got nice color in there.
That helps. Yeah.
Got Saskatchewan green on again, so it's good to see you.
Yeah.
And over in Connecticut, I've got Muffler Mike. Mike, how are you?
I'm good.
He's right. That's what he is. He's right. And I just want to remind everybody before we get rolling, of course, just a reminder that, of course, all of our shows are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. Also, you can catch us on Spotify the next morning. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share. Please enjoy our affiliates across the Streampunk Entertainment Network as well, which includes Streampunk Cinema and Streampunk Combat, as well as Keep It in the Ring, Fly Like an Eagle, Soccer, Football, you name it, we got it. You can, if you missed a show, no worries. You can catch all the shows on YouTube, which include, of course, Streampunk Cinema, Streampunk Combat, as well as all across all the time. And in there, you will find retro games, interviews, library of shows, as well as fights, press conferences, and so much more. So please give it a look. Please subscribe. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting streampunkentertainment.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. Also a reminder that the show is brought to you by 60. And 60, of course, is Canada's newest and most exciting sports uniform and teamwear brand, delivering top quality uniforms and teamwear that reflects the spirit and identity of each team. Their commitment to innovation and excellence sets them apart, ensuring that every customer experiences the perfect blend of style and functionality. Unleash your greatness with 60. Also remember, add Lax Talk 10 for a 10% discount on your order. Lax Talk 10, 10% more off on your order. How do you get there, you ask? First, you can do it with the QR code on the center of your screen, or you can go to Instagram at sweet_60. You can email them at info.sweet60@gmail.com, or go directly to the website at www.sweet60.ca/60. Okay, a few things. One, happy birthday to the John and Johnny show over in Peterborough. John Grant was last Sunday. Johnny was a couple of days earlier. I don't know if we touched on it last week because we were busy trying to get to the Super Bowl. So happy birthday to both of them. Also staying in Peterborough, Ernie Element, who does the all the stuff for the Special Olympics out there, he put out that this year we will be having our Lacrosse Day for our champions on May 30th, 2026 at the Memorial Arena in Peterborough. All in support of Special Olympics Peterborough. Lots of great things all day long. All the way from members of Lacrosse Peterborough, legends of lacrosse. You don't want to miss that. Watching them have a game. And then the one that I'm looking forward to is the Sticks story time by the legends. Sticks is a watering hole just across the street from Memorial, and is where most of the pregame stuff goes on during the summer. A great little place. I love the place. Personally, I think it's got such charm and ambiance. And if you want to see a lot of paraphernalia from yesteryear, there's your place to go. But to listen to some of the stories, unbelievable to have all these guys and talking about all the different things. And it costs next to nothing, guys. So let's put that in our calendars. May 30th. And let's do something for Special Olympics Peterborough. All right. The Players Association, they came up with a thing for Ryland Hartley, and their statement was they withdrew his suspension, and he obviously sat this weekend to get it out of the way. Interesting. Just timing about everything, right? Also, the league came down with a one-game suspension that was served this weekend. Also, for Jackson Subak and Tyler Biles on their little brouhaha pregame. My eyes, they got off lucky with one game. It's one thing during the game. It's another thing when you have a lot of kids, other people, pedestrians on the field pregame, and you're going at it recklessly. I'm all for evening scores and doing stuff like that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But do it in the confines of a game where you have officials, where you don't have other people on the field. That was the one thing that stood out to me in all of that, was that all these people are just wandering around. All of a sudden, this breaks out. And luckily, nobody got caught up in this and it stayed within its quarters. The players did a good job of kind of blocking that all off. But that should never be in the in that part of our pregame. All right, moving further. The injury to sick bay at Toronto Rock Incorporated, just like other years, last year what comes to mind, is back at her. And, well, Sam English is back, but if you looked at him last night, his knee was taped, his leg was taped heavily. So he's not 100% by any stretch. But the Rock have also placed Chris Weir and Justin Martin, two stalwart defensemen, on season-ending IR. That is a big blow to the back end of Toronto. Lucas Hercal, he will be coming into the lineup from the practice squad. But again, that doesn't make up for losing two very good defensemen and two really good transition people. So that's going to put a big strain, and we saw it last night already. So let's see what happens. Old friend of mine, former Toronto Rock, also a friend of the show's, Casey Behrens has been signed to the Elora Hawks as in player development, and that's great. Now that Elora is in the OJLL, this is terrific, and Casey's going to add all kinds of experience and all kinds of know-how, and congratulations to Casey. Some milestones. The biggest one of the weekend, of course, Mark Matthews was able to make it to 1,100 career points. That's incredible. That's really, really impressive. Chris Boucher last weekend made it up to 300 career points. Jeff Cornwall, he is up to 200 career games now. Mike Triolo, it took him to move before he got this one, but 100 career points. It's interesting, hey guys. We had a trade also. We had Calgary and Ottawa make a trade, and I'm not really sure about this one. Calgary gets Jacob Dunbar. Ottawa gets a third-round pick in next year's draft. I'm thinking that Calgary won this one. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, granted, Dunbar really hasn't lived up to the bar, I guess you could say, that they're really kind of expecting him to play at this year quite. But at the same point, I mean, Calgary has been struggling. They could use a guy like Dunbar at the same point. So, yeah.
I agree. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of the trade. We've been talking about how Calgary's offense has been kind of up and down, and there's been all this uncertainty about, kind of who's going to lead the group, are they going to be consistent night in, night out? So, I mean, even if Calgary, continues to slide the rest of the season, and, at least he's getting reps.
Right. I looked at this. I loved when he was in San Diego. I thought he was going to be the next big thing there. He came to Ottawa, started out like a house on fire in his first game, and he just almost single-handedly dismantled the Rock in that game. But over the last while, he's had a real problem of being able to get into the lineup, and I think that's a problem in its own right. And maybe, just maybe, he gets a chance now to play on a regular basis and actually show what he can do. What do you think?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a young lineup over there in Calgary, so he's got a lot more opportunity for sure. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he gives the team the option to go right heavy on
Yeah.
the front end, going forward in games. So
It's just odd, for a third round pick. I would have thought maybe you look at a little bit more, but nope, third round pick it is. Alrighty. An interesting thing here, guys. The NLL came out with fan awards for the midway point, and well, let's see if you agree with them. Most valuable player, if it were to be given right now, Jeff Teat. Offensive player of the year, Ryan Keenan. Rookie of the year, CJ Kirst. Defensive player of the year, Callum Jones. Transition player of the year, Mike Messenger. Goaltender of the year, Brett Dobson. Coach of the year, Derek Keenan. Mike, what do you think? Are we on the money here?
for the most part, I think the MVP might be a little bit up for grabs, and I personally probably would have gone with Zach Currier for Transition Player of the Year. The
Right.
others, like,
What about Coach of the Year, Shawn?
You're asking a Saskatchewan guy. I have a hard time,
It's one of my
Derek
reasons
out.
why I'm asking you. Isn't Jimmy Quinlan part of this coaching team?
And he is, and you know what? He's actually technically the reigning coach of the year, right? Is Jimmy, not Derek. And I know Derek, gives Jimmy a lot of credit, and really he just says, I'm just kind of the guy standing back there letting Jimmy do most of the work. And
If
let's face it, I think really
Vancouver-
Jimmy's.
If Vancouver makes it up and around the Saskatchewan area code, should we be looking at Kurt Molosky?
I would say so. I'd also say Pat Coyle.
Yeah, Pat Coyle's a good call. Yeah, actually, Pat Coyle's a great one because I mean, who saw Colorado being like playing the way they are at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I mean, week one we were talking about that trade with Q and Kelly and how if they finish in the bottom 5 of the standings, they get an extra pick out of it or a better pick out of it or something like that. And
well, see, I got the other thing in mind
happening.
Also. The other thing that came to mind, personally, I thought was most valuable player. I would actually think of Westberg. In every Seals game, win or lose, his numbers are high. Yesterday, he had 7 points, a goal, 6 assists. He is in the mix of everything that goes on with the Seals offense. And I think that we have, unfortunately, the Eastern view around here that we don't really see the West. So we don't really think of it. And I think that they need a little bit of loving too. And I really do think that Westberg is a deserving person to look at for MVP or Offensive Player of the Year, either one. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only counterpoint to that is, based on what you just said, it's easy for anyone to look at him and say, okay, he's Jeff Teat West.
Okay.
And then you're going to take his point totals and you're going to compare him to Jeff Teat East, who's, actually Jeff Teat. And you're going to go, well, the real Jeff Teat has more points, more goals, more assists.
Therefore, it's kind of like we discussed too, if we're going the MVP route. Like, I know we already had Brett Dobson's goaltender of the year, but just, I mean, the numbers he's putting up this year are just unheard of at this point. Like, I think you still need to, even as a goaltender of the year, have him in that conversation as MVP as well. Because I don't know whether the Swarm are going to be in the position they are without him backstopping them.
Yeah, and I think voters really at the end of the season, the voters really need to look at. We've keep mentioning. I mean, we mention it off air more than we do here, but you have this new, for lack of a better term, the bandit rule or whatever, that you can't have guys in the crease blocking shots. And what we've seen is a rule designed to open up the net more, yet scoring is significantly down from last year. So,
Right.
I mean, we need to look at pretty much a lot. I mean, more than just Dobson. We need to look at Dylan Ward. We need to look at, Zach Higgins. We need to look at some of these guys that are, putting up, sub 10 goals against average, because there's a number of them.
Right.
I think that lends more credence to the case for Dobson, because now he's coming in, and playing a season in which, a new rule being implemented was designed to potentially allow for more scoring, and we're getting less scoring.
Right. Interesting. Something to keep an eye on anyways, but it's like I say, it's a strange little thing there, right? All right. Who's been watching the Olympics? We don't fight in hockey. We fight in curling.
Yep.
The Canadian way of things now, isn't it? I think that's hilarious. And just all the craziness that has gone on in search of those gold medals. Hockey's gone kind of by the wayside. Can't wait to see some of the other stuff, but this is a little ridiculous. Can you imagine in lacrosse? Your finger was too far. Alrighty. In the ALL, it was trade deadline week, and we had a number of really big things go on there. Let me just pull it up here. The biggest one of the week of the trade deadline was John St. John, who has been a mainstay over in Oshawa, is now off to Peterborough. And in return, Peterborough receives the 2026 first round pick, 2026 second round pick, as well as player Scott Edwards. So Peterborough's making a push for the championship. Whitby and Six Nations made a deal in which Six Nations receives Amos Whitcomb, and Whitby receives the 2027 third and fourth round draft picks from the Snipers. Oswego and Six Nations then made a deal. Oswego receives the 2026 fifth round and 2027 second round pick, plus future considerations for Waukegan Shognosh. Interesting if he's even going to be playing in the ALL, the way Buffalo will be retooling, I think, in the offseason. Brampton and Oshawa made a deal, and that was that Brampton receives the 2026 fifth round draft pick, where Oshawa receives Mitchell and Carter Jeffrey. So Oshawa is trying to rebuild now as well. Whitby and Toronto made another trade. Whitby receives a conditional pick, fourth round pick for the 2026 draft, and Toronto receives the playing rights of Matt Ford. And the condition is if Ford plays for Toronto during the 2026 season, the draft pick is transferred. If Ford does not play, his rights revert back to Whitby. Toronto and Paris made a deal. And Toronto got the 12th round draft pick, and Paris receives Trevor McDonald. Interesting. Interesting. And last but not least, and also a pretty big one here, Peterborough and Whitby made a deal in which Peterborough receives goaltender Caleb Martin. And in return, Whitby receives the 2026 third-round draft pick, as well as a conditional 2027 fifth-round pick. And the condition, of course, is if Peterborough wins the ALL East Cup in 2026, the 2027 fifth-round pick will upgrade to a 2027 third-round pick. So Peterborough is making a definite play to be up with the big boys, which at this rate right now is Whitby and Brampton, and maybe adding Toronto in that mix as well. Looking at this week's results, immediate reaction here. Whitby faced Oshawa Saturday afternoon at the Children's Arena, and well, it was a kicking. Whitby beat Oshawa 20-8 in this game. Names of note. Come on, computer. There we are. Lyndon Sinnefield for Whitby had 4 goals and 4 assists in this game. Liam Osborne had 3 goals and 3 assists for Whitby in this game. Ryan Chikowski only gave up 6 goals on the day. The last few were Ethan Harward. So Whitby is primed and ready. They are number 1 still in the power rankings. Looking further off into it, the late game was the Toronto Monarchs and the Brampton Express in a head-to-head matchup, which might even be a finals if you're, playing your bingo cards correctly. And Brampton came away with a 13-12 victory over the Monarchs in an absolute classic of a game. By the way, if you want to see any of these games, you can go onto Arena Lacrosse website at arenalacrosseleague.ca, and they have the YouTube links there to go catch these games. These are very worthwhile games. Now, for Brampton to come back and win this, the Monarchs had a lead with 6 minutes to go, 12-11. Jake McNabb with 5 minutes left, Lucas Ferreira with 3:16 left, and Brampton was up 13-12, and they were able to hold on. First star of this game was Curtis Ward for the Express with 4 goals and an assist. Second star was Riley Ford of the Toronto Monarchs with 3 goals and an assist. And Jake McNabb with 4 goals was the third star of this game. 2 games ran off this afternoon. Paris beat Oswego 19-18 in a pitcher's duel in overtime, in which, now this is a good one. This Paris actually had to come from, Paris was ahead most of the day. Oswego came back to tie this thing in the 4th, and it went back and forth. In fact, it was tied 5 different times in the 4th. But Paris had to actually tie this thing up with 19 seconds left on a goal by Andy Campbell to send this to overtime. And in overtime, Owen Rice scored about 3 minutes in to win the game for Paris. Heck of a game. The late game this afternoon was Peterborough facing Six Nations and another barn burner. Peterborough came away with the 11-9 victory. And, Cam Milligan making his presence known in this game as well for Peterborough. Milligan had 4 goals and 4 assists. Aaron Woods only had a goal and an assist, so it's nice to see other people getting involved here. Zach Thompson also 2 goals, 3 assists. Howie Francis with 2 goals, 2 assists. This is going to be an interesting run down to the end. Six Nations put in a heck of an effort. Just wasn't enough. Jaden King, another big day. Couple of goals, couple of assists. Briley Maxwell, 2 goals, 1 assist. Jordan Goddard with 2 goals as well. Just a team of hard luck. Just seemed to kind of run out of steam at the end. But if we're looking at the power rankings for this week, we have Whitby in first, Brampton sitting second, the Toronto Monarchs sitting in third, Peterborough in a close fourth, Six Nations fifth, Oshawa sixth, Paris seventh, and Oswego in eighth. Brian, how are you? Good to have you with us.
Hey, Brian.
Eduardo is with us
Hey,
from sunny St. Augustine, Florida. Good to have you with us as well. And that is the week that was in ALL. And we're coming up to the end of the season. There's a couple of weeks left. Next week, Paris faces Brampton on Friday night in Memorial Arena in Brampton. Saturday, we have the Peterborough Timbermen and the Whitby Steelhawks at Children's Arena. This one is if you are in the area and you do not want to miss this game. In fact, I believe I will be at this game myself because I don't want to miss this game. And the later game in Oshawa will be the Oswego Bears against the Oshawa Outlaws, another big game. And Sunday, there's two games as well, with the Paris River Wolves facing the Oswego Bears and the Toronto Monarchs facing the Six Nations Snipers. Remember from that snowstorm a little while back, the couple of makeup games. So there's a couple more weeks left in the season, but things are heating up, and it's going to be an interesting finish. This year's playoffs are going to be just absolutely off the charts. By the time we get into semis, it's just going to be can't miss games. So stay tuned, and if you aren't able to, we'll be able to find links for you. All right, guys. That brings us over to the NLL. Now, on Friday and 42 games on Saturday, and we got one as week even. And for you playing the home game, it is 2-2 coming to the end of the first quarter between Georgia and Calgary. Who thought that this was going to be a close game? I didn't, but then again, I got most everything wrong this week, so it really doesn't matter. But we start off, of course, Friday night. And we had one game and a good late game at that, right?
Yeah.
Colorado versus Vegas. Now, this cost me my bet 365 is that Colorado, I bet them at minus 1.5. And they had a 4-goal lead with a few minutes left. And, well, Colorado wins 13-12 and disappoints me, but, you know, everybody in Colorado's happy.
Yeah. And it was close, too. I mean, there's that goal. I think it's just under a minute left, too, where they had to go to review, too, because the ball ended up under Ward. But Ward was half in the net. So it was that close, really, from Vegas tying this game. But, yeah, it was a game of runs, that's for sure. For the Mammoth, though, I mean, 6 assists for Will Malcolm. Yeah, hat trick from Owen Ron. Goal and 2 goals, 3 assists from Jack Hanna, 5 goals and assists from Andrew Q. So, you know, we're talking about that trade and how much it's paid off for Colorado. Dylan McIntosh, 2 goals, 3 assists. For the Desert Dogs, Jonathan Donville, a goal and 6 assists. He had a hat trick and 6 assists from Mitch Jones, 4 goals and 3 assists from Chris Kluche. Really, this was a game of runs, and as you mentioned, it really could have gone either way, which I think maybe surprised a few people on how this game went.
Absolutely. I'm, you know, if this was the only game that Colorado played this week, I'd have a whole lot of different things to say about their defense and, you know, what's Ward looking like and that. But because they played such a stellar game last night when we get to it, I kind of have to hold reserves on that because if I thought that they were hot going into this weekend, holy smokes, they tied their franchise record with wins by winning Friday, and they beat their franchise record for wins with Saturday's win. Tell me they're not up there as the hottest team in the league. Up there right with Saskatchewan. I think it's neck and neck right now.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, like
All
I
right.
said,
Let's keep rolling along here. We got a lot to cover. Yeah, just amazing what they've done there. And I think back to the preseason, and Pat Coyle had basically two teams there because they were going to rebuild. Now remember, they also don't have Ryan Lee. He got hurt. Everybody thought they were tanked. They don't look tanked to me.
No, not
Just
at all.
between what
still
they've
that,
got.
and they still knew Eli McLaughlin too. They were missing a lot. It's just like a few years ago with the next man up mentality, and like we mentioned the Q thing, and then I think bringing in Jack Hanna. I mean,
that was huge.
That trade was going to happen regardless, but yeah, it ended up being a huge piece that they were missing.
Yeah, the offense has just become
absolutely
just dynamic.
Yeah,
with really both of those trades, the trade for Q and the trade for Hanna.
There's so many waves that they can send at you now. Can you imagine if Ryan Lee was in the lineup? It's been an all-star team.
Goodness,
yeah.
This, wow. But kudos to Brad Self and for Pat Coyle on being able to sift through basically 40 people in their camp to put this together. And it never hurts when your All-Star Hall of Fame goalie comes back into form, which he hasn't looked in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
The difference of solid goaltending is incredible. And which leads us into our next game, which is Buffalo traveling over to Halifax. And for years, we talked about how the stellar goaltending has been there in Buffalo. I thought, at one point when I think it was 8-2 for Buffalo, it's going to be the game that we've expected from Buffalo for weeks. And then, of course, I got busy in Oshawa. I turned in there, and it was 9-8. So I go, what? Mike, talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, Halifax clawed their way back in. I mean, Buffalo got off to a quick start with a pair of goals. Randy Stotts went back-to-back in the first quarter to tie it up. And then Tehoka Nanticoke matched the feat. One of them was just a phenomenal goal, picking a ball out of the crease and managing to stay weightless long enough to to put it back in the net. But they led 4-2 after one, tacked on 3 more, basically a 5-goal run over the first and second quarters that knocked Warren Hill out of the game. And credit to Drew Hutchison, who came in relief and made 24 saves. He ended up taking the loss, but only allowed 4 goals on 28 shots. And, Halifax slowly clawed their way back in. They got to within 1 in the third quarter, and then managed to tie it up, oddly enough, in a 3-on-4 situation. Jason Knox manages to put back a rebound to tie it at 10, but then they had all the momentum, and when Buffalo took another penalty late in the game, you thought, here we go. They're going to take the lead, and Dane Smith scores a shorthanded goal that ends up being the game winner. 11-10 for Buffalo. Really in a game that both teams needed. I mean, they both came into the game 3-5. So, Halifax falls to 3-6 now, halfway through their schedule. And I believe they're 1-4 at home, which is very uncharacteristic. Halifax is usually a difficult place to come out of as a visitor with a win. But again, Buffalo, I mean, I haven't looked at everyone's remaining schedule, but I have to believe that Buffalo has the most difficult second half schedule of any team. They still have to play Saskatchewan twice. They still have to play Vancouver twice. They have to play Colorado. They have to play San Diego. They have to play Toronto. So, and even, I mean, if you can call it their easiest game, they have a game against Oshawa, but I believe it's in Oshawa, and that's a Tucker Out Lymphoma Cup game that if Oshawa finds a way to win, it basically puts everyone at 1-1 for that cup.
Right.
So there's going to be a little bit of, the same way there was a little bit last week, a little bit of pride and whatnot on the line when Philly came in and beat them in Banditland. So the road really doesn't get any easier for the Bandits. It's definitely a big win. Gets them closer to getting back to 500, which, as we know, is likely going to be the cutoff for playoffs. But might cut some 500 teams might get cut out of the playoffs at this point, the way the standings are looking.
Interesting. It's I don't know what to think about. There's a couple of teams we're going to talk about. Oshawa is one of them, but Halifax, man, I thought this was actually going to be maybe a preview of what we're going to see in the playoffs at the beginning of the year, and the way that both teams started, and from there to where we are now, man, how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah. I mean, ever since they split their season series, and that first meeting was Halifax in overtime in Banditland, and you kind of just thought that they were going to keep on rolling and have that momentum, but 1-6 since that win.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving along here. We had another crazy game, and this one was in Rochester. And it looked like, again, Rochester starts off strong, and then it just kind of fizzles. Now, of course, they don't have Biles in the lineup. They don't have Hartley in the lineup. They're both sitting suspension. But still, they start out strong. Zed Williams with a goal early on. Rob Hellier gets one back, and they tie it up. Ryan Smith and Graydon Hogg add late goals, and it's 3-1 for Rochester after one. Everything kind of looks rosy. However, after Connor Field scores to make it 4-1, now we have Ottawa starting to wake up. Hellier gets another one, making it 4-2. Then probably the prettiest goal of the night was Liam Aston with his first career goal. A behind-the-back pass on the top of the crease from one side of Connor Kiernan to Aston, who puts a bounce shot in the far corner from the other side of the crease. And literally, that behind-the-back had to be threaded the needle for it to work. And, of course, who was the facilitator before that? Jeff Teat. But needless to say, it is 4-3 at the half, and we got ourselves a ball game. Graydon Hogg opens up the scoring in the third to make it 5-3 for Rochester. Larson Sundown has a pair of goals that sandwiches a Ryan Lanchbury goal, and it's 6-5 after 3. Best team in fourth quarter, Mike, is?
The Ottawa Black Bears. Cardiac
and we
kids.
Prove it again. Cardiac kids. And we prove it again because what happens? Not 3 minutes into the fourth quarter, not only do they tie it, but they have the lead. Sam Firth and Jeff Teat score back-to-back, making it 7-6 Ottawa. First lead of the night. Josh Medeiros in transition scores. But then Riley O'Connor and Jeff Teat both get goals. Zed Williams gets one back. Rob Hillier gets that one back with 3 minutes left. And the Ottawa defense locks it down. So Ottawa picks up the 10-8 victory. It's another team where I think needed a victory. Because since that Buffalo game, they haven't looked great. And
No, they
Zach
haven't.
Higgins,
And I mean, I'll toot my own horn here. You know, I'm the only one who picked Ottawa this week to win that game, and I felt like it was another statement game for them. They needed to step up. You know, be you know, that big win against Buffalo, and then you fall back to 500. And I felt like if they lost this game and fell below 500, I mean, now you're 5-6 with 7 games left. And unfortunately, I'm just not certain of who they have left to play, but I'm sure they have at least a couple of difficult opponents higher up. I don't believe they've played Colorado yet. I don't believe they've played Georgia yet.
Right.
So
Now, a couple of things in this is that the Rochester defense did their job. They held Jeff D to 2 goals, 4 assists. In my eyes, that's a victory right away. The biggest thing was the Zach Higgins factor. Sorry, Pat. He made 50 saves on the game. 50 saves, let in 8.
Yeah.
He was
Bounce
on
back
fire.
game
He
for
was
him.
a wall.
yeah,
In this game.
Bounce back game for him for sure. Yeah.
He looked good. Really good.
and credit to the Black Bears penalty kill unit. Rochester 0 for 2 on the power play. So, you know, there's your 2-goal margin right there for the victory.
With all that firepower too, you know, and it's funny because I thought that maybe after Connor Fields had a rough week before, that a couple of weeks against Vancouver, he looked to be on to start this game, and well, he wasn't that much of a factor in all of this, as none of them were really. Connor Fields had a goal and 3 assists. Ryan Lanchbury a goal and 2 assists. The big scorers were Graydon Hogg. If he's leading your scoring, I don't think you win him many games, but you know, solid player, but still. Zed Williams with a pair of goals as well, but not a lot going on there. Now, nobody can blame Riley Hutchcraft. You know, I can probably, it's Hutchcraft and not Hartley. He only let in 10, 43 shots on net. No, those are numbers.
No, I
no.
zero blame on Hutchcraft for this.
Yeah.
For this loss.
No, I thought he played a pretty solid game. And as I thought that both teams did, and this was just a defensive struggle that fell Ottawa's way, 9 times out of 10, I think we talk about Rochester pulling out a victory. But again, we come down to Zach Higgins and 50 saves. So,
yeah, keeping that. I mean, Thomas McConvey, no points.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully next week he gets some points because I have him on the show in 2 weeks. So.
Yep, Waters was kept scoreless too. So
he's been fairly silent this year. He hasn't put up numbers anywhere near what he's done the last few. And I really think that they need his big body presence in front to be something other than what Ryan Smith or Connor Fields are given, or even Ryan Lansbury for that matter.
Yep.
But over the years, he was able to fill in that void when they didn't have Hogarth anymore. And he's not producing like he has in years past. Hopefully that changes soon. But it's a definite miss in their offensive scheme because it takes a big portion that they don't have to worry as an opposing team. They don't have to worry about if he's not really producing. Yeah. Brings me back to the Philadelphia Wings idea and Blaze Reardon. You know, Blaze Reardon of old put fear into everybody in the front in the dirty area. Now, not so much. So the same idea here with
with that core of right-handers that they have. I mean, Zed Williams, Ryan Smith, and Water. I mean, those are 3 big bodies. I mean, Lanchbury's not exactly a small guy himself either. So,
right.
Yep.
All right, let's keep moving, and we head on over to Oshawa. Now, I was at this game live and in color, and this is a coach said it best. Coach Clark is rock bottom is where it hit. Now, San Diego outshot Oshawa 62-47. They outfaced off them 18-6 and blah blah blah. It was 9-1 at the end of the half. San Diego was 3 for 4 on the power play in the first half, and 1 goal on a delayed penalty. every time Oshawa made a mistake, San Diego was there to capitalize. It's Dylan Watson had a hat trick in the first half for San Diego. Trey Leclerc looked spectacular for San Diego in this game. Zach Currier was all over the place on both ends. And they took care of it. The only positive in the first half was Taggart Clark scoring off a Ty Kurtz pass. That was it. After the fifth goal, in came Andrew Kidd for Doug Jamieson, who was having a hell of a time in net. And that lasted for about 2 quarters, and then Kidd was pulled, and in came Doug Jamieson again. But just the person that stands out is Westberg. He had a goal and 5 assists in the first. He wound up with 2 goals and 5 assists or 6 assists, whatever, in the game. But he was everywhere, facilitating everything. So when I say MVP, I really do mean it. That he is the heart and soul of this Seals unit. Now, Ben McIntosh had a good game. Corey Small had a good game. But really, the heart and soul of that San Diego lineup is Westberg. Now, let's not take anything away from Chris Rigliaria, because every time that Oshawa would mount something, he was there with an answer. And he had to be more sharp than ever because there was big spans of time where he didn't have anything. Because this, of all the games that I've seen Oshawa play this year, this was the most discombobulated that I'd seen them. Taking unconventional penalties from players who normally don't take penalties. Alex Simmons was taking a bunch. Dyson Williams, guys who normally are on the kill or on the power play, as well as even strength, they're there. But this game was just, and it didn't get easier. The third quarter, something was said amongst all the other things in the dressing room, because Oshawa came out in the third and got 3 fairly quick goals. And all of a sudden it looked like maybe we're going to have a bit of a game. Dyson Williams scores on the power play, followed by Ty Kurtz and Mike Byrne in transition, and it was 9-4. Ben McIntosh scores, and it's 10-4. And really, the fourth quarter, going back and forth, and yes, Oshawa got a couple of goals, but San Diego spent more time trying to kill clock. Just trying to get out there unscathed, going through the better part of 30-second clocks. So I don't really put a lot of credence into what I saw into that fourth quarter. But San Diego at will, every time that Oshawa seemed to have a bit of momentum, I'll give you an example. Alex Simmons and Ty Kurtz score back-to-back. Ben McIntosh doses that fire. Dyson Williams comes back and scores again. Ben McIntosh again doses the flames. And that would be the way it ended. 13-7 was the final. Instead of me giving right now my video thing isn't working here. But I'd really love to give you what they're saying. But give me a second. I'll be right back. I'm back. Still nothing different. I can't get there. Oh, wait. No. I don't know. I can't get to my videos. I have a really good one in the press conference. Anyways, if you want to see Clarkie and Colton Watkinson in the press conference, you please go on to our YouTube page. They are both there. Go on to our Facebook page. They are there as well. But really, Clark was the most distraught I've seen him as a coach. And the word rock bottom wasn't me making it up. It was coming from him. So that in itself is worrisome.
Yeah.
Guys, what do you think? What is going on with this Oshawa team?
That's what I want to know is, like, what's happening? What's wrong with this offense? Because there's plenty of firepower there. We've seen it. We know it. But this is multiple games now where we've seen really nothing out of them.
and I can't put my finger on what exactly is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely baffled, and I'm just pulling up stats here for the players. I mean, Alex Simmons through 11 games, 64 points. I mean, that's, he's up in the top 5 if I'm not mistaken in scoring this year. Ty Kurtz, 50 points through 11 games, 24 goals, 26 assists. I mean, it's not like they're not getting production, but it seems like they're somehow not getting production.
Because they're getting production from just the 2 players, and that's.
I mean, the next it drops off after Kurtz. Dyson Williams and Ethan Walker are tied for 3rd. Each has 30 points. That's probably not what you want through 11 games. I mean, that's more than half your season already. But I mean, Dawson Theed, 15 points in 4 games. So it's not like you're not getting production out of him. And I'll add, for those who, bash the trade, saying Oshawa didn't need him and that he would be nothing but a penalty machine. 2 penalty minutes in his 4 games with Oshawa. So, I'm feeling like Oshawa so far is winning that trade. That it's working out for them. And he's obviously playing disciplined ball. So, I mean, beyond that, you start getting into defensive players, and there just isn't a whole lot of production. Everyone's under 10 points. So even their transition guys, you don't have a single guy on the Firewolves in transition who has double-digit points through double-digit games already. So maybe that's the missing piece.
Right. I think I have the video, Mike. I think I can place the video in here. Just the Glenn Clark.
Much different second half from the first half. What was said in the dressing room that changed everything around?
Oh, I don't even know. The volume of discussions today was a lot. That whole game was disappointing from the standpoint of mental mistakes. So a lot of it was about cleaning up those errors and sort of taking inventory of your own game. But yeah, it wasn't good from start to finish.
You dug a hole with a lot of penalties in the first half. Going forward, what do you say to the team just about being more disciplined?
Sometimes the game is the game. I think we've actually been pretty well disciplined this year in terms of penalties. I mean, you don't always agree with all the calls, but I certainly don't think that's been our problem this year. There's been other things that have been more impactful on where we're at now.
It's been a while since you guys have been back here. Just speak to the fans and the boost that they gave you tonight, and what you hope that they can show up for you guys when you're back here in a month.
Well, it's very disappointing. It's disappointing that you get a crowd like that, and that was one of the things I said in halftime was, you have people coming here to support you and paying money to support you, and you play like that. So I appreciate the fans. I love the support. I love what they're doing, and we're not holding up our end of the bargain. So that's disappointing for me. We're just not good enough. Like that's not even close to being a good enough representation of what we should do.
Are there any positive takeaways from this game? And if so, what are they?
No, not at all. No positives. zero positives. There will not be one positive experience from this game. This is rock bottom. That's as bad as we play, and there is nothing positive to take out of it.
Is this a little bit of a sign that you have bye week coming up?
No. I mean, there's nothing good about anything that we're doing right now. So, we've been blackboarding back to basics, trying to get us to a position where, we can get ourselves back in this thing, and then that happens. So, I'm at a loss. I mean, we'll digest it as we get out of here, but this is certainly, this might be the worst situation I've been in as a coach professionally, like, in terms of managing the season. It's definitely rock bottom.
Thanks, Coach.
That's painful.
Yeah, when I hear rock bottom, I first thought immediately was Kurt Malosky 2 years ago, when he pretty much in the same kind of interview said, "I'm embarrassed for this team," when Vancouver was not playing up to, up to the level he expected or fans believe they should be playing up to.
Yeah.
And that sparked that lit a spark under them that year. If I recall, I don't believe they made the playoffs, but they went on quite the run in the second half.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's move on. And we had next on the we had Vancouver and Saskatchewan. Shawn.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about a final preview. This is the finals. It goes 3 games, then yes, please. This was a hell of a game. So I guess, right in the first quarter, Levi Anderson starts the scoring, gives Saskatchewan a quick lead. We could kind of start with the slow starts that Saskatchewan's got off to, so at least they got on the board first. Also, talking about Levi Anderson, he ends the game with 5 points, his best game as a pro. That being said, Adam Charlambides, Jesse King, Keegan Ball round up the first quarter scoring, and actually Vancouver takes a 2-goal lead. Again, Anderson strikes right off the bat in the second. Marcus Clarich and Charlambides score again to give Vancouver a 3-goal lead. But there's just no quit in this Rush team. Just you can't take any time off on them. Brock Haley scores, then Zach Mans. Now you're a 1-goal game. Keegan Ball scores, get Vancouver back up by 2, but then you get Robert Church, who becomes a very integral part of this game, as we'll learn later on, to make it a 1-goal game. Then the third quarter, although not a lot of scoring, Saskatchewan just kind of takes over. Matt Accioni again shows off his speed, another transition goal, and we're tied up. And then with just under 3 minutes left, Zach Mads with a just unbelievable twister shot gives the Rush the lead heading into the fourth now. In the fourth quarter, really early again, Charlambides scores to tie it up. And then Jesse King scores with just about 7.5 minutes left. And Vancouver takes the lead 8-7. And you're kind of thinking, oh boy, like the way scoring is going this game, especially, Del Bianco and Chiliano were just going toe-to-toe. I think Frankie probably just had one goal he'd like back on the shorthanded goal, which is kind of ugly. But then with minute 42 left, Ryan Keenan makes an unbelievable, one-handed pass to Zach Mans behind the net. And talking to Zach after the game, he noticed that the Vancouver defense just wasn't quite protecting the crease. They're playing out a bit, so he dove from behind the net and scored to tie the game and send it to overtime. In overtime, and I'm going to kind of go step by step because there's kind of a lot that went in. You can all see all the press conferences on YouTube, but they go into it quite a bit because Jake Naso actually lost the face-off. And Jimmy Quinn said he gives his defense and Naso a lot of credit because they hustled down the floor, caused the turnover, so Vancouver couldn't even get a shot off. Then they get the ball down into Vancouver's end, and the Rush had a set play that was supposed to get to Ryan Keenan for the shot. And what happened was Ryan ended up getting covered pretty good by the defense. But what they noticed was that the defender on Robert Church had started to cheat over towards Keenan. So again, Jimmy Quinlan gave him a lot of credit. Instead of taking that, Keenan could have just easily just taken that shot like he was supposed to, an ill-advised shot. But he, just that veteran presence and just being well coached, they made that extra pass to Church. And talking to Church, he said, I just shot that thing as fast as I could. It went 5-hole on Del Bianco and 44 seconds in. In overtime, who else do you want the ball in their stick than Robert Church to end it? And so ends 9-8 in overtime in a real back and forth battle that, again, like I said, goals are hard to come by. Then the goal scorers came to play in this one. Yeah. And for the Rush, Zach Mans, 3 goals,
Incredible
3
game.
assists. Yeah, 3 goals, 3 assists. Robert Church, 2 goals, 2 assists. Ryan Keenan, no goals, but 5 assists, so he was facilitating. Like I said, Levi Anderson had his best game as a pro with 2 goals and 3 assists. He's really kind of starting to come to his own, and again, just shows that depth of Saskatchewan. Even their young guys are scoring. For the Warriors, Adam Charlambides, 3 goals, 3 assists. He had a goal and 2 assists from Marcus Klarich. 2 goals and an assist from Jesse King. 2 goals and an assist from Keegan Ball. So, just a hell of a game. And, not much between these two teams, really. It's just one bounce that went the right way for Saskatchewan in overtime.
Yeah, so thing that stands out to me, do you guys know who has the best penalty kill in the National Lacrosse League? It's the Vancouver Warriors.
Wow.
And kept Saskatchewan 0 for 3 on the power play. But credit to Saskatchewan for their discipline. Vancouver did not get a power play in this game.
Yeah, the one Saskatchewan penalty was Saskatchewan holding the stick, but on that play, Vancouver also got a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct for embellishing. So there was no power play on that.
So to me, that's a big part of, this game maybe could have been swung either way if any of that changes. If Vancouver gets power play, or if Saskatchewan finds a way to score on the power play.
Here's my question to you, Shawn. Does this look a lot like the team from 2016?
It does. Those teams were just so deep with talent. And the biggest thing that just always sticks on my mind lately, especially these last few games where they've gone down early, is there's just no quit.
Right.
Like, if you're going to beat Saskatchewan, you have to put in a full 60 minutes. If you even take a couple minutes off, they will make you pay, and it will snowball.
Yeah, and I think that showed with the pressure they applied in overtime after losing the faceoff, which, Max Adler only won 4, but, he won what you would have expected would have been the most important faceoff. The only one in overtime, and forced a turnover. So
like I said,
didn't have a chance to end it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing when we talked to Jimmy. Like, even before talking the goal, like, that's the big thing he more emphasized on was the fact that we lost the face-off, but we hustled down there to cause that turnover, so we wouldn't even give Vancouver a chance.
Yeah, that's the game that hurt my pick'ems. That would have been 2 games this week I would have had where everyone else picked the other team and I picked the winner.
However, welcome to our world there, Mike.
Yep. I'll go back in my basement now.
I'm coming with you. Don't worry. The numbers are astounding right now, but hey, we'll see what happens after tonight because we still have the one game going on. And for those of you keeping score at home, internet and me, we just don't get along, do we?
It's 5-3
5-3.
Georgia at halftime, and if you're rooting for Calgary, not so great news. Your leading scorer with 2 goals is Justin Inacio, your face-off guy.
Hey, boy.
Wow.
So,
Well, going on to WTFs, Mike, that leads us into our next game, and that is, of course, Philadelphia and Calgary.
yeah, I guess WTF indeed. Just gonna bring up the score here. Philly. I mean, Philly was in control of this game early. Had a 4-2 lead after 1. Kyle Jackson continuing his hot play for Philly. He had a hat trick and 2 assists. He got 2 goals and an assist out of Brendan O'Neill and Phil Caputo, who was back into the lineup after a few games off. Michael Sowers just 3 assists on the night though. So following up that big game against Buffalo with a little less production. Eric Fennell also only 2 assists. They struggled on the power play. Normally they're a very good power play unit, just 1 for 4. But big game from Riley Lowen for Calgary. He had 6 points, a hat trick, and 3 assists. Tanner Cook had a hat trick and an assist. Tyler Pace with 1 and 3. Hayden Dixon with 1 and 2, but his goal to give Calgary the lead was highlight reel material. Aiden Walsh 35 saves in net for Calgary. They went 14 for 23 on faceoffs and 2 for 5 on the power play. Nick Demood made 36 saves in the loss for Philly. So, but this game was tied 5-5 at the half. Calgary took an 8-7 lead after 3. They battled back. Foley's goal in transition made it 10-9, but they just couldn't get any offense going in the last 2 minutes of the game. For Calgary, it's their first win at home. So, they were looking at potentially, being 0-6, 0-7 at home after this weekend.
That's wild.
So,
Yeah.
That's just wild.
Yeah, and definitely, definitely a bit of a momentum killer for the Wings. After such a big win, you're going up against, a team that's below you in the standings. You're trying to kind of keep below you, so you have less to climb to make that playoff line. But I'm not ready to declare Philly sellers just yet. I think it's, I still think it's starting to come together for them. A lot of their losses, they're not necessarily big blowouts. They are keeping things close.
Right.
And, I guess to a point I'd made earlier in the season that I felt like, that was going to be their best chance to have a successful season, was to have that kind of MO where, hey, we're going to play these low scoring, defensive, gritty type games, like their win over Colorado was 8-7 or something like that. They're losing here. It's 10-9 where they're not getting caught in shootouts where their offense can't keep up. So, obviously it, having to put Blaze Reardon and Chris Corbeil on IR before the game,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
certainly didn't help. but I give me another couple of weeks on them. I do believe they have a doubleheader in week 14. So, and I can't recall if they play next week. I believe they are off.
The Wings play Saskatchewan, just for fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I might have to.
Automatically said, okay.
Well, I might have to change my tune because then the Week 14 doubleheader is a home and home with Georgia.
Oh boy.
Ugly.
Yeah,
So
that's rough.
I just look at all of next week. Next week has only got 4 games in it, and it's just the week of ugly. Colorado plays Toronto on Friday. Buffalo is into Vancouver on Friday. Ugly.
Oof, yeah.
Halifax is into San Diego. Is getting
Oh
ugly.
boy.
Man, Saskatchewan is into Philadelphia. Could be very ugly. That is our week of ugly.
Wow.
So we've had weeks where we talked about parody, and now we're going to talk about the opposite this week. So, but that leads me into the next game, the week of ugly. Now we talked about Toronto and injuries, but a few things happened in this game that were just. Let's start with the very beginning. Is the Mammoth never really let Toronto get into the game because Matthew Paletto scored just 7 seconds into the game off the face-off, and boom, it was 1-0. About a minute after that, Will Malcolm, and it was 2-0. About less than a minute after that was Braden Saris, and it was 3-0. 2 minutes after that, it was Andrew Q, 4-0. Now you're wondering, where's Jack Hanna? Gotcha. Power play goal next. Jack Hanna gets one off of Braden Saris' pass. Braden Saris is playing great with this Colorado squad. Now, this chased Troy Holochuk from the nets in Toronto. And just after that, Toronto actually had a glimpse. But it took the transition game. It took Phil Mazuka basically going coast to coast to get Toronto's only goal of the first. And it was 5-1 after 1. Challen Rogers scores just 43 seconds into the second, and it's 5-2. Maybe Toronto's got a bit of game in them. Nope. Owen Ron scores. Andrew Q scores. Braden Saris scores, and it's 8-2. And it's not looking good. Mark Matthews was on pace for his 1100th point in this game, and it looked like it's going to be another day the way things were going here. However, Matthews scores off a Dawick feed, making it 8-3. Dylan McIntosh then scores to make it 9-3. And just before the half, Matthews again on the power play, pulling a China shop and converting a CJ Kerrs pass. It was 9-4 at the half. And really, Toronto really hasn't been in this game at all. Colorado has just been playing that well, and they just put it up another level. We go into the third, and Toronto gets a couple of quick goals. Chris Boucher and Owen Hiltz on just a beautiful dip and dunk goal, and it is 9-6. And again, it looks like the Rock have a bit of game to them. In fact, the Toronto Rock defense held that powerful Colorado unit off the score sheet for over 15 minutes. However, after that, just after the 15-minute mark, boom, 6 goals in about 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes. Will Malcolm, Andrew Q, Braden Saris, Dylan McIntosh, Matthew Paletto, and Andrew Q again with a power play marker, and 9-6 turned into 15-6, and this game was a blowout. Another thing to hurt Toronto was an unfortunate incident of Owen Hiltz taking out, I can't remember who it was, player in the corner. Now, his head was down, and he was given a 5-minute boarding and a game misconduct. So you took one of the spark plugs of the Toronto offense out for the rest of the game. I didn't see it as a 5 in a game, honestly. Was it boarding? Yes. Was it intentional? Hell no. Was it unfortunate? Yes. but 5 in a game, even on review, and off he went. And, Toronto never really recovered from that, amongst other things. In the fourth quarter, Colorado's killing time. Challen Rogers had a pair of goals. But really, this thing was inevitable at 16-8 as your final. Orleman played for a bit. Holochuk came back in. That really didn't matter. Colorado was firing on all cylinders. And really, you look at it, Will Malcolm went 2 goals, 5 assists. Braden Saris, 3 goals, 4 assists. Andrew Q, 4 goals, 6 assists. Matthew Paletto, 2 goals on a night. Dylan McIntosh, 2 goals, 1 assist. You were getting scoring from everywhere. Owen Ron had a goal and an assist. Tim Edwards was laid out by Elijah Gash in the first. Let me see if I can pull up the trick I just did for the other thing and try this. Bear with me for a sec. But it was ugly. But, the one thing that I want to get into in a second is we'll get rid of him. Was the again the same kind of pass that we dealt with Rylan Hartley. And there it is.
Last night. And that is a huge hit on Tim Edwards, and you heard Eric's audible reaction, and we'll see where this goes now. That's going to be Elijah Gash. That's one of the tough guys, and Edwards is still rolling around. I'm going to be surprised if Edwards is going to be around for the rest of this game. He got lit up like old school football. There's a safety that used to patrol the secondary here in Colorado named Steve Atwater that's now in the Hall of Fame. That's what he used to do to unsuspecting receivers. That's not the hit, though, the NLL necessarily wants in the game. So to the box goes Gash. Edwards is up.
Okay, so here's the question, guys. What was the difference between that and the Rylan Hartley hit? Other than it's a goalie and this is a player.
You want my opinion? There's no difference, and it should be treated the same, whether you like it or not. I mean, if that's the rule and that's the way you're going to call it, shouldn't matter if it's a goaltender or a player. I mean, from what I could see there, Edwards couldn't defend himself. Like,
it was a legal hit. It was a shoulder.
Legal, and the only thing I'd ask is
But was he defenseless? Did Edwards see it coming?
Okay, so let's dig further into that point then. When are we going to outlaw this stupid buddy pass, this little floater pass that's going to get somebody killed? Del Bianco threw it and damn near decapitated Steph Charbonneau. This was another one that was thrown, and this one just about killed Edwards.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that, Gary, because if you go, like I said, there's no difference because you could make a case that Hartley's hit was clean too. He didn't target the head; he hit him with his shoulder.
Right.
It was just the way the pass.
I was going to say, we speculate.
That's a big thing too, right?
Yeah, that comes into play, and I think the other thing that comes into play with we posted the rule after the Hartley hit, and our consensus on their reasoning for assessing the punishment that they did was the wording in the rule that said significant distance traveled, meaning the amount of turf that Hartley covered to make the hit.
Right, where Gash was there.
My question: did Gash make that same amount of distance covered?
He didn't run that far to get him.
No, he didn't run that far.
Now here's the thing, and this is what they brought on the broadcast was, it was initially a 5-minute penalty, reduced to a 2, and they did admit a legal hit. However, did Edwards know it was coming? Was he able to turn his head to see it was coming? And no, hence the 2 minutes.
I think he was. In that case, I think he was more defenseless than Charbonneau was.
Yeah. And there's the other grave part of the rule book, right? Is if you actually look at the rule book, it's completely to the ref's discretion as to the level of penalty on an illegal body
Right.
check.
But we get 2 and 3 weeks of almost the same kind of hit and 2 entirely different calls and 2 entirely different reactions.
That's
Being a gash, you notice that the Colorado guys weren't so eager to want to jump him like they did Hartley in Vancouver. Interesting. However, again, both were unintentional. It was a good open field tackle if you're playing NFL football. But again, like they say, how many people defenseless have been taken out of the game for this, right? But yeah, it was a shoulder. There's no question about that. And just an aggressive play. But 2 minutes. And Tim Edwards did come back and play the rest of the game. So let
me ask: Is this a point where you made the suggestion last week ahead of the Vancouver Rochester rematch that Commissioner Frood and
Yep.
the whole entourage should be in attendance?
Absolutely. Do we see what happened in
Are
Vancouver?
either of you concerned that now it's going to be, for lack of a better word, the traveling commission here? That they're going to be picking a game every week to show up, and wave their finger.
Isn't it that their job? Is that not their job to be at these games? Brian Lemon, shouldn't he be at these games?
It is, but do you really want them there? Do you really want them there for that reason every single week?
No, but it never hurts. If you know something's about to go down, they didn't go to Vancouver. What happened?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Do you
we
think
don't
that would
want
happen
to
if they were sitting
Vancouver.
number 3? Do you think if they were there, that would have happened? I'm going to bet you dollars and donuts they didn't. It wouldn't. That would have been just a little bit of a curve. We're here. We're watching.
I mean,
and then that might stop. Then they don't have to go every week somewhere.
Would you have looked at that differently if Biles and Subak decided they were going to do that at the opening faceoff versus in warmups? Would you look at it differently?
I already told you that I have no problem with them doing that at the opening faceoff. My biggest problem about that was they did it with all the kids and everybody else on the field, innocent bystanders who have nothing to do with this. And anybody can be walking by and getting hurt by these guys throwing fists.
Yep.
During a game, it's fair game, man. You play in a game, that's part of it. You're asked to drop it. You have a choice. You can turtle, you can drop it. None of these guys are going to, turtle. So of course they're going to go. In real retrospect, Biles tried to get Subak to go in the first game. That would have taken care of that altogether. They wouldn't have had a rematch over the following week. Really, I thought that was stupid anyways, because we're a full week removed and all the other things that went on anyways. There shouldn't have been anything that poured over anyways, but it did. But by having it pregame and not in the game was what I was against. I am not against violence in the game.
I think the penalties are deserved in that regard.
Absolutely.
I guess you can add that those penalties might not have been assessed had they dropped the gloves at the opening faceoff.
I agree. And maybe that would have been 5 minutes each, maybe a game. That's it. See you later. That's done. The suspensions were because they were done and everybody picked up on it, including TSN, ESPN, and it's another not good look for the league. And the league has to react to that. There has to be discipline for that.
Yeah.
If it's during a game, it's just another it's a lacrosse fight. Nobody cares. Well, we do. But, Joe Hockey and Dr. Baseball don't care.
Well, I kind of agree with Gary. If, you have, the Commissioner Lemon in the stands, I don't think it would have stopped that fight. It's what you're saying. I think this fight would have happened in game instead of pre-game. Yeah.
Right. Do I think that people are going to come and try and take out Elijah Gash next week? No. Edwards also didn't get hurt. And he got his penalty. It wasn't even listed as a 5. So I would really be surprised if Colorado's going to take away from their winning streak to try and go down to this thing, when really, muscle-wise, I think Toronto's got it anyways. Between Hostrauser, Gash, a couple others on there that can fight. Bushi, come to mind. I really don't think
and that's something Colorado doesn't have right now with Brett.
They don't have it, and I don't think they want to get into that thing, because right now they're firing on all cylinders, and the last thing you need is someone to get hurt for something stupid that never needed to happen.
Colorado's got too much on the line.
Yeah.
They got too much riding on that game.
Toronto, if anything, they kept bringing up the idea of fighting. Hostrauser got into a few little tussles here and there, and really he kind of made him look, like he wasn't even trying, throwing him down to the turf. But it's frustration. You're down by 9. It's frustration.
Yeah.
So why would you want to put yourself on? We just watched in Oshawa frustration, taking early penalties, and all of a sudden you're down 5-0, 9-1. The game's over. Not on the clock, but that game, to all intent and purposes, was over. So why do you want to put yourself there, especially if you're on a 7 or 8 game win streak? Why would you want to put yourself anywhere in that position to try and change the momentum? Everybody's playing well with each other, and they're just rolling. And, whatever penalties Toronto took, the Hiltz penalty, the Gash penalty, believe me, Colorado made them pay.
That's exactly my thought. Is Toronto doesn't really want to get into any of this either, because if they get their mind out of the game, Colorado's just going to run right over them again.
Toronto's still in a playoff spot. Toronto's 500 right now. I think they're 5-5, and they have a lot of upside. I don't think they want to get into this nonsense either. This was an unfortunate hit. It wasn't intentional. Nobody did anything the rest of the game. There was no bad blood anywhere through the rest of the game, other than frustration on the Rock part. So I don't see this being the same. Take offense to it. Now, maybe if Holochuk traveled from his net, or Orleman traveled from his net, and a flying mare across and taking him out in a wrestling move, flying clothesline. Yeah, okay, I see that. But I guess Gash is there.
I'll admit that is the big difference between I'll admit that was maybe the big difference between the two hits was the fact that they did take a run. There was a travel distance in the first hit with Rochester, but it definitely wasn't in this one. And I will admit that that's definitely a difference. I think the more difference was whether Edwards could defend himself.
Because now you get into the nitty part of defenseless. When do we call defenseless then? If you continually face the other way, are you defenseless anytime you turn forward?
And that's a gray area in the play.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
Right. If you're going to be going backwards and all of a sudden you turn closer, are you still defenseless? When is it that it's in your stick and you are not defenseless? This one would be very, very much on the line, more leaning towards defenseless. I do agree. But, it's close. And by no means is that intentional. I think more of the play that got Belter knocked out, and the play before where that was more of one where Gash actually ran across and took the player out. Belter then comes and challenges him and gets knocked out. But this one, I think he was more there. And, the football player in Elijah Gash, and don't forget he does have a football background, would have clicked in, and there we are, tackle, boom, there it is. I don't think there's any premeditation or any thinking that I'm going to lay him out. Is there, boom, bang, bang. So it's unfortunate that it happened, and he served his 2 minutes for it. They did. Refs called it a 5, reduced it to a 2. So in all intents and purposes, and I'm hoping that that's the end of it. So let's hope that Cooler.
Yeah, because this is another situation where they're playing again next week. So just like Vancouver and Rochester played the following week. So
absolutely right. And that covers our games for this week, other than the one that is still ongoing. And Mike, what is the score there?
Quick check here.
I can get it up here.
Refresh. Looks like Georgia up 6-5.
6-6 is what I got.
6-6 now.
6-6 in the third. 5 minutes left in the third. Wow. All right. Let's move forward here. Report cards. I want to do it a little bit differently because we sit there and go through every team. We're going to be here for another hour and a half. Who gets an A in this league right now for it? I'm going to go around the horn here. Shawn, let's start with you. And obviously, I know your first choice.
Yeah, obviously
You can't
Saskatchewan.
give higher
I
than
mean,
A+. I'm sorry.
yeah, and I probably wouldn't even get that because I mean, this is a team that I think in some ways is expected. I mean, they were in the finals last year. I think they expect to be in the finals again this year. It's just the expectation that was been on this team. I know we're picking up the top teams, but I mean, you have to go Colorado as well. I mean, this, like we talked about before, I think coming into this season, I don't think we thought maybe Colorado was a playoff team at best, but I mean, now we're talking about one of the top teams in the league. I think, San Diego's starting to get there now in the A section. I mean, I think they're starting to find their stride. Georgia as well. I think those are kind of maybe the top of my scorecard right now.
Okay. Mike, where do you put these people?
I mean, I'd give Sask an A. I'd give Colorado the A+. I mean, just the fact that they made trades and those trades have worked just phenomenally for them.
And they lost a big piece. Ryan Lee. They lost a huge piece.
Well, remember, it's not just Ryan Lee. It's Connor Kelly, too. They traded away. I mean, just it gets overshadowed by the fact that, that they got Andrew Q in return. And I mean, to me, it's for that reason that I would put Georgia probably in like the B+, because it's, the youth movement is working out there, but they're the ones who traded Andrew Q. And the player they got in return isn't even playing for him this year. And who knows if he'll be playing for Georgia next year. Remember, that's a part of one of those conditional picks too, is whether he suits up at all this year or next year, I believe, for Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, again, part of that is, the youth movement is working out. And of course, Brett Dobson is, playing otherworldly right now, where he's being talked about as goaltender of the year and potentially MVP.
Yeah.
So if I had to give a third A out, I'm not sold on San Diego being in A territory yet, even though they were my bye team.
They're close. I'd be like an A-.
I think they are going to surge into the playoffs. See my caption. They're the only undefeated team on the road right now. And I think that will continue. I forget what their remaining away games. They have Vegas. They do have Saskatchewan, so that's going to be, as you can see by their home record. But they're they're at Toronto, they're at Colorado, they're at Georgia, so they have some tough matchups on the road. But I still think that road record is going to be pretty robust when all's said and done.
Right. Well, it's hard to say, Saskatchewan isn't an A+ or A with 9-1. Same thing with Colorado on a 7-game win streak at 8-2. My question is here, we're moving into the A- to B+ category, and my theory, that's where Georgia sits. That's where Vancouver sits right now. At the B+ A- thing. I think Vancouver more towards an A-, just in the way they've played the last 3 or 4 games, not just the last 2 with Rochester, but they really, really have turned on their offensive juggernaut of what we all thought they could be. They're not quite at the A or A+ spot yet, but I think that they could be before the end of the year if it keeps going in this trajectory. Georgia, the only reason why they're not in my conversation is it took 4 or 5 weeks before they even found any offense. If it wasn't for the absolutely unreal defense of Brett Dobson with a 7 or under 7 goals against, we're talking about Georgia being 3-6, not 6-3. Even a game that they won in overtime in Toronto, man, if it wasn't for that, 10 minutes of the fourth where Toronto went to bed and Lyle Thompson woke up, I think that game is the other way around too. So I'm still not 100% sold on that. However, I am sold with Brett Dobson being the MVP by a long shot if he keeps it up. And tonight's no different, really. We're right in the realm of the 7 goal against. So that's no fluke. Man, we're halfway through the season. These are numbers that are just unheard of in lacrosse, period.
Yeah.
Let alone NLL. Working into the Bs, it's a little more of a gray area because, again, San Diego has made their way in there now, I think, solidly. The way they played Oshawa, but then again, I have to look at you're playing a wounded wolf. There is something terribly wrong with this team with all that talent and a lot of mental errors. And coach is the first one to say it, that there are a lot of mental errors that don't usually happen. Well, this is happening week in and week out. And it happened yesterday against San Diego. But San Diego, since the loss to Toronto, has looked good. And the only reason they're putting games that they're losing is because they're their own worst enemy, taking a lot of penalties. And they didn't last night. And they capitalized on a lot of gifts of Oshawa taking penalties. So if they can keep their discipline, yeah, they can be in the upper echelon as well in my eyes. Ottawa, I'm not sold on them yet either. I would have been more sold after the Buffalo game. But the couple of weeks following that, man, they look pretty average or just
Shaky.
below average.
Yeah.
Definitely
They just
shaky.
didn't look good.
No.
Vegas, before Chase Fraser got hurt, I was a lot more up on them than I am now, even though they're still putting up a lot of numbers offensively. I think the real engine of that offense is Kluche. I think Fraser is the flash. I think Kluche is the real engine there.
Yeah.
And if he's having a good game, so is the rest of that offense. But losing Hannah and losing Fraser, and all of a sudden they're middle of the pack, and that's exactly where they are in the standings, 4 and 5. Will they make the playoffs? I think it's a good possibility they can. Will they be what we expected them to be at the beginning of the year? I don't think they reached that, which puts them down to a C in my eyes. A very average team, which brings me to Rochester. Man, if we did this thing 3 weeks ago, before all this Hartley stuff, man, we could have probably been talking about them in the A- category also.
Oh, yeah.
A-,
100%.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right around the A-. Not quite at A, not quite the Saskatchewan, Colorado thing here, but right around there and looking to be moving upward. But now, here we are a number of weeks and a number of different issues. This week was, even in a loss, I like what they did defensively. Offensively, I don't know what happened to them. So I'm putting them towards a B- right now and even working towards a C+ until I see something more. Though I think it's inevitable that they're going to find the upside. There's just too much talent there, and they've been too close, and there's too much leadership there for this to last. Now it brings me to Toronto.
Yeah, let me add one more thing with Rochester there. We did talk about it off air, and that maybe the decision to drop Hartley's appeal had a little strategy behind it.
Yeah.
Well, it could have been,
in that having him sit for this game against Ottawa, where it seemed like maybe they had a better chance of winning.
Well, shall we look at it in retrospect, Mike?
Versus 2 weeks from now when they're playing Saskatchewan.
Right. But shall we look at it in retrospect? He played the Vancouver game and he got the doors blown off. And when they pulled him, they actually came back in. He didn't play this week, and Hutchcraft played, and they lost that game anyway. And then, it didn't really work. but there's
Yeah.
a number of other factors. I don't lay it on the shoulders of art. I lay it on distraction.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's all
I
distraction.
think
Yeah.
a lot of distraction in there. And the one thing that they were at the beginning of the season through the first couple of games was laser focused. Absolutely laser focused and enjoying being there and Seneca Nation and all the good things that have come, and everything was rosy and rainbows and this, and now we're going into the muck and the mire of what a regular season is, which is why this isn't just a preseason.
Yeah, because on paper this should not be a 4-5 team.
No. So I look for other things. Now that brings me to Toronto, and Toronto. Yesterday was a weird one, but if they're going to continue to have injuries, which they are, they have to learn to adjust. And I don't think this team is that deep yet, as we're seeing. And I'm as it hurts me is it's a C-, maybe even into the D's, because I haven't seen the offense at a steady pace yet. I've seen flashes of brilliance from Kirst, from Hiltz. I've seen Josh Dawick pick up. I've seen Mark Matthews be reinvigorated, but I haven't seen it for a full game. I've seen games where I've been in the bag and they almost lost and did lose. The Georgia game they should have won. The Oshawa game they almost lost, and that was in the bag. That looked to be a lot like the San Diego game, and then they just took their foot off the gas, and Oshawa, to their credit, went to town. So I'm not convinced yet. And now, goaltending, I like what Holochuk brings. I like what Orleman brings. Do I think that they're both number one bona fide starters? No. Do I still think that they need in their first draft pick next year to find that diamond in the rough from whichever goalie, wherever in the hell league it is, that they need to bring in and get them ready for the 2 or 3 years from now when all these guys are not there anymore? Yes, I do. Because do I think Dante Mancini is the guy? I don't know enough about him to say yes or no, but right now I'm leaning to no. But we'll see. I move a little further down, man, and I talked about Buffalo.
Yeah.
We've been used to talking about A. We're talking about A-. Here I'm talking about C+. And that's me being generous.
I think that's generous. Yeah, I'd have them at like C-. Like, this is not a team that we thought, 3-time champs should be competing for a championship, and they look, as I say, very pedestrian, very
they're
middle of the
making
road.
moves of a team that is scared to actually go into rebuild. You're moving a bit of a piece here. Matisse, no more. Triolo, that one I don't understand still. Ron John, I still don't get that one either. But, you had to make room for Matt Spanger, who actually looked good back against Halifax yesterday. You had to make room for Belter, which I still don't understand. But, again, I'm not Chugger. Chugger has a long lineage of success, so I'll let him do the decisions. But still, looking down the road, and even looking, I wouldn't have had 4 goalies on my practice, my lineup. Granted that some are the future, which is why Orleman is now sitting in a Toronto uniform. Do I think that Konstantopoulos is the answer? I'm not sold.
Not right now.
I'm not sold at all. I think he needs more time.
And does he have one more year of juniors left?
I think so, yes.
So I mean, he's going to get meaningful reps with Orangeville. They could be competing for another Minnow Cup. So,
yeah. Well, he's going to be getting an awful lot of lessons still. But, Matt Vince is a good teacher. Now, does Matt Vince move into Anthony Cosmo's position with Buffalo? Or does he move into St. Catharines or something close to home and work with the junior A's? Because
if I had to guess, I'd guess the latter.
Yeah.
Because I say the writing's on the wall here. Unless something crazy happens, I really do think that this is the last year for Matt Vince. Because he doesn't look all that interested either, does he? You don't see that fire that you've seen in years past. Because the writing's pretty much on the wall.
Especially if they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree with Mike.
At that point, it's
definitely on the
I don't think he's going to go
your second chance at 4 in a row is over now. And honestly, I still believe that's the only reason he came back.
Right.
Is now I have a chance for 4 in a row. If Saskatchewan, I truly believe if Saskatchewan had won the Cup last year, he would have retired.
Right.
Because we've always talked about how he has nothing left to prove. That would have been the only reason, is because they won. He had a chance to do something unprecedented again and go for 4 in a row.
Yeah.
To me, at that age, with all he's done, it's your only.
Oh, okay. Kostiuk is finished junior, so he's
okay.
No more junior for him. Thank you. Okay.
So, I mean, with that in mind, I mean, we're probably going to see.
Shook is the future, yes, but for the time being, though, they need somebody in there, and I think Konstantopoulos is that guy.
So I would assume we're probably going to see Konstantopoulos in OSL, or maybe
we're going to see him in major.
MSL?
We're going to see him in MSL.
Major.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Who's he with? Do we
who's
rights, or
who's the line with Orangeville? I'll have to my mind's going blank. Anyways, with the last 4 teams that we have here, the only one that I actually look at a passing grade that is not in the D's is Calgary. I have them at a C-.
Yeah.
And the reason why is that they're still making moves and they're still growing. Between Tanner Cook, now Jacob Dunbar in there. I like the defensive structure. I think Walsh has added a whole extra escape to them that they didn't have in the last, since Del Bianco's gone. I think that this team, with a little bit more time, and with the Cordonley, Sanderson coaching, really are in the right realm to move up. They still have decent transition. The defense is big and strong. They're very big. And they have a good core in there, but they need to learn. They're still young, majority of the team.
Yeah.
And they had to pick up from scratch, really, because they Vancouver raided their kitchen and their pantry and their basement.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely agree. I think Calgary, you see a light in the tunnel. If any of those final teams I put the bottom like a D- even an F, honestly, is Halifax. I think this is a team that we looked at coming into this season as a championship contender, and let's face it, they look bad. They don't look like a contender
they're
at
their own
all.
worst enemy. They're their own worst enemy again, and that again is penalties. Penalties will kill them, and it's been killing them for years, and they can't seem to get the message across. But it's there, and now, the solid thing had been Warren Hill's play. Well, he's been pulled how many times in the last few weeks? It's not as steady as you think it is, and a lot of it is all the damn lacrosse he's played over the last 3 years. You've had grueling NLL seasons, and then you've had grueling MSL seasons in which you've gone and won 3-man cups. You've had
let's not forget Field for Haudenosaunee.
Yeah, you had the World Field and the World Box Championships.
Yeah,
for both Haudenosaunee for both.
Yeah.
So you've had all kinds of it. So, it's inevitable to have a letdown. But the rest of the team, you didn't think that losing a couple of players here and there would have mattered. But, man, you're resting everything on Peterson. He's performed. But his supporting cast, not as much. And I still don't understand why they gave away Dawson Theed for nothing.
Yeah. That almost felt like waving the white flag right there. Like, it just felt like that, right? Like,
because he was a big part of their offense. Even when he wasn't doing anything, he was still just a bull in a china shop.
And
So
maybe
I don't-
that's where I just kind of sit on these 4 teams. Like Calgary, like I said, light at the end of the tunnel. You know, I see pieces in Philadelphia. I see pieces in Oshawa. But I
Oshawa's
just
got
don't
now.
see. But I
Oshawa's
just
actually
don't.
up right now, and that's just because of what I've seen all year. Now they've made a couple of moves to try and get it stronger because Dyson Williams was doing their fighting, for Christ's sake. You can't have that.
Yeah.
Your number 1 overall draft pick. You can't have that. Hence Emerson Clark in there. Hence Dawson Theed in there. And, you'd be a fool not to take him if he's there for you. And they're both part of the Oshawa area. Do they move Rubish at the trade deadline?
I feel
Does
like
Rubish
that.
go?
I mean, I feel like yes, but that's.
Yeah.
I feel like
Does
that's gonna,
Rubish
be,
go?
that's gonna be that's gonna be Rubish walking into Glenn Clark's office and saying, "Hey, can I go to a contender, please?"
Yeah,
It's
but
hard to
Rubish
know what
lives
feels.
10 minutes from there, and the reason why he
Yeah.
took the team wasn't for their championship, was because he's 10 minutes from home, not 5-hour flights.
And with that coming home so close, you wonder if this is his last year anyway. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really worth a piece to move.
Do you move Jameson?
Oh,
Huge draft next time around. Do you move him for a first and something else? And just wave the white flag here? Well, the flag, it's 2 and 9. I think the flag is waving. Just a thought.
I
Something has to happen.
that might be the only
look
thing that
at this point. Oh, geez, I wasn't ready to play line 1 here. But
I don't think Lintner's going to help them, to tell you the truth.
no, at this point, it's not Lintner, since he's under a rock somewhere apparently.
MIA.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can get this, but what if you could you give Jameson and either a second or a third for this year, knowing that it's a deep draft, to Halifax for Hill and Halifax's first, knowing that Halifax owns their own first round pick and is not doing well?
Mm-hmm. Interesting move.
Because Oshawa doesn't own their first round pick.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't think Oshawa really needed it with the Dyson Williams and the youth core in there, but
That's why I'm like
and the
really.
other
That's
thing-
why I'm
well, I
really
mean-
confused with Oshawa, because like you have so many young guys, like you really don't want to give up young talent, but
we were going around and we're
where you
circling
go.
the bowl right
Yeah.
now. We're just circling the bowl right now, and
I just feel like with Doug Jameson and Warren Hill, obviously there's that whole connection of them playing in Six Nations, but I feel like with the two of them, if there's going to be a change, it's just because a change of scenery is needed, and not necessarily because
Yeah.
there's conflict with management or contract issues or nothing like that. Not even, I wouldn't even say it's performance based.
Okay. What do we talk about the Philadelphia, sitting right now at a D plus in my eyes, because there's been a few moves, but their offense is nowhere. Their defense is looking weaker than I thought it was. I don't blame goaltending. I think both are strong. In fact, they were the finals in the President's Cup, one versus the other, and one was the MVP.
Right. Yep.
So I don't think it's the goaltending. The defense has been suspect, even though I thought that was the one thing that they really had taken care of. And offensively, as much as I like the Americans and the field game, that's not the answer in box. That's a nice touch to it.
Not working.
I
Yeah.
think if O'Neill is number 2, I think he's dynamite. I think if there's another person like a Connor Fields around there, Restateras could have been that guy, but I don't think he should be in the Mitch Jones
Should
role.
have been that guy.
Yeah, I don't think he should be in the Mitch Jones role. And that's what he is right now.
Yeah.
And Blaze Reardon, of course, him being on IR now, that just confirms what we've been saying for weeks. He doesn't look at all like he belongs. So if he's hurt, that would explain a lot.
That's why I feel like if we're talking sellers, like Philly has the pieces that if they want to be sellers to get something out of it, I think they've got pieces to move for sure.
Right. I still didn't understand why they kept Corbeil, to tell you the truth, because he's had a history of being injured, especially over the last few years. I don't think that his transition thing, especially with Dominique back, matters. And I don't think there's that leadership that's needed.
I would add to that discussion is I mean, what if they go the Georgia route, start stockpiling picks? They already have their own first. They have Buffalo's first.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, Buffalo won this weekend, but they have this, as Pat Gregoire put it on the broadcast, their schedule is a meat grinder the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and that's the thing.
Bandit fans, I I chuckle because I know I've gained this reputation of having this Bandit bias, over the course of our podcast here. But if you're a Bandit fan, I don't see how you see yourself, or how you don't see a realistic possibility that you're finishing in the bottom 5 of the standings this year. With the remaining games you have left, with the way they've played overall and at home.
Right.
Philly's looking at that pick and they're salivating.
Yeah, then like I said,
with the
piece of move, like if you're going to sit
probably 2 of the top 5 picks in one
what do we think about the rumor of Russaterets to Buffalo by the trade deadline? I think it does nothing for Buffalo, honestly.
Yeah, and I think Philly. I want another. I'm Philly. I want another first round pick out of Russaterets. I think that's what I was about to say.
Well, yeah,
you should get another. You should be able to get another first round pick out of Russaterets. If you're going to move Blaze Reardon, I think you could make a case for getting another first round pick out of that as well. I think you got a lot of pieces you can move to build in the draft.
You just got to find the right team.
Yeah.
And maybe Halifax is that team. If they're not going to swap goalies. Again, Halifax has their own first round pick. And Halifax can
Halifax.
I don't want to say Halifax can afford to part with that pick, but I believe they have a compensatory first round. Which again,
the only move that Halifax has made was firing Montour as a coach. So to me, that's not even addressing any of the issues.
No.
So they're not even looking at where they need to be going right now. I don't know. Last year or the year before, whenever Hill was having a bit of trouble, Hutchison came in and looked good. So do you even need to get goalie back? Why don't you let Hutchison try it on his own? You're not doing any worse than you are now.
I guess it's not any different than Vegas banking on landing Kells.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not. Well, I'm a little more sold on Hutchison than I am on Kells, to tell the truth. As a starter.
So
I think Kells is
I'm just saying, by saying that, if anything, it makes it look better.
Yeah, but I think Kells. Well, how about Hill over to Las Vegas?
That's intriguing.
I got to see who does.
That would change everything in Vegas.
Yeah.
You got the number one goalie in there. And then if I was Sean Williams, I'd be concentrating on my D because my O is strong. Then are a couple of pieces away.
I'm just curious what their draft pick situation looks like.
Vegas has their own first round pick.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then you get back a healthy.
And they have a compensatory from Colorado.
So they're looking good.
That's interesting. Yeah.
In
They
fact,
probably don't necessarily need that first round pick.
Those are the only 2 compensatory picks in the first round, are Halifax and Vegas. Hold those 2 compensatory picks.
I would even go so far as Hill to Toronto, but I know they're not going to do that. Toronto's got a first round pick too.
Yeah, and it's Calgary's. So
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is also, don't forget that Toronto gets their first round pick from last year, their third one in next year with Ty English, Sam's brother. So it's not like you're not getting another first round pick in your lineup already. And Jamie has been notorious over the years to trade first round picks away.
But has he learned his lesson?
Well, he did this last year, and it was, here we are sitting there in a solid C right now.
And just a quick update, the wheels have fallen off in Calgary. 10-6 with under 4 minutes left. Georgia winning.
And there we go with Dobson again with a game of 7 or less.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
And that's Georgia 1 for 4 on the power play so far and 1 for 20 on faceoffs. But here they are with a 4-goal lead with 4 minutes left.
Like, that means Georgia's given up 77 goals altogether in 10 games.
4 goals in the fourth. Jeez.
Calgary's tired, though. They played yesterday or the other day, right?
Yeah. And that was a kind of a gritty game. No, they didn't travel. They were both at home.
Both home.
But still, two gritty games. And that's Georgia is a huge team and a grinding team as well.
Size, yeah, lots of size. Triolo, Eccleston, even Lyle.
Well, Triolo just added to an already big tree team.
Yep.
And their defense is humongous.
Byrne, Trumbull, Cole.
Yep. Grace, another one.
Yep.
Just unbelievable. So, yeah, I can see that, and it comes into Calgary's growing pains that we talked about. These things are going to happen, and I hope that none of these.
Justin Inacio is their leading scorer tonight, so
that can't happen.
That can't happen at all. No.
Happen. Not if you're going to put a W up. But they are going to stay neck and neck with Philadelphia and Oshawa for the Golden Goat Award for who gets the number 1 pick. Or I believe is it Toronto has Calgary's pick, right?
Toronto has Calgary's pick.
Yeah.
Philly has their own. Ottawa has Oshawa's pick.
Right. So I'm cheering for this game, right? Go Georgia.
Oh yeah.
But
with the way Oshawa's playing,
there is an upper echelon to this league of 4. Then there's a middle to this league of 4, maybe 5. And then we have a bottom of about 5. We're battling for the number 1 pick, whether they own it or not. Interesting that we have different categories here.
So I'm getting way ahead of myself here, and I know we're getting long on time, but is there a consensus top draft pick? And the reason I asked that is what we just talked about 30 seconds ago with who's going to get that number 1 pick. And the question of whether they actually need that player.
Interesting. I haven't given it all that much thought.
Yeah.
Because if you're Ottawa and the top player and the consensus top player in the draft is some superstar lefty forward, you kind of already have that.
Right. Well,
just as an example. If it's Philly, it probably doesn't matter who it is. getting that top, if Philly's getting that top pick, it probably doesn't matter who at this point, who the best available player is. But it's going to matter if you're Ottawa. And it might matter if you're Toronto.
Right. I'm still thinking there needs to be a damn goalie in that. But what do I know? That's going to be an interesting thing. Elijah Edwards comes to mind.
Did Liam Entenmann enter the NLL draft after finishing at Notre Dame?
I haven't heard of it yet, but
does he have any box experience?
No.
Just going to throw that out there.
Yeah. There's a number of really, really good players in this draft. So nobody in the top 10 is going to be somebody they want. So this is a once in maybe twice in a circus that we see something like this deep, because we've seen some good ones, we've seen some so ones. This is a deep draft, and we've seen it with the junior lacrosse we've been watching the last couple of years. But now with all these programs developing as well, we're seeing it more throughout North America also. U.S. Boxla's doing a really good job.
I was just going to say out in the prairies now here too.
Yeah, prairies are doing it.
We're a lot more competitive.
It's not just coming out of Ontario anymore. Even down east, I know Nova Scotia's got all kinds of programs going. I look at catching up with a number of those guys when I'm at Rebeski, and having a good chat over who is up and coming. So it's going to be interesting. I think we're going to leave it there. That's interesting. That's been a really interesting conversation, and it's going to be more, I think, the week of the so in about 4 weeks time, when we get to the close to the trade deadline. Because don't forget, we can see a whole lot of shifting between that. Somebody can get hot.
Oh, definitely. Because after this next week with the 4 games, we've got that brutal schedule of 10 games in week 14.
Yeah.
And there's 3 or 4 teams on doubleheaders. Maybe more. That all happens before the trade deadline. So
it's going to be very interesting. So when we revisit this just before the trade deadline of buyers and sellers, that's the forks will be in the roast by that point. But just a reminder to everybody that we are on Facebook.
5 game.
Go ahead, Mike.
5 games in week 15, and then the trade deadline's the next day. So it's actually after week 15. So we got 4 next week, 10 the week after that, and then 5 more after that.
So 19 games altogether.
So another 19 games.
Yeah. All right. Just a reminder to everybody that we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Thread, we're on YouTube, as well as on www.streampunkentertainment.com. Please visit us, especially on our flagship on Facebook, a couple of times a day, because the news is always changing, especially with everything going on. Also, the PLL tournament starts the end of this month as well, so you're going to want to catch up with that in the Sixes tournament. Remember, Olympics is only a couple of years away now. It's going to get more and more heated as we go along and seeing what's going on with all that. So please keep in touch. It is our privilege and our pleasure to give you all the information up to date as quickly as we can, as accurately as we can. We are the Costco of lacrosse, if you will, always with our fingers on the pulse of the situation. That'll bring us to last words. Shawn, let's start with you. Last words to you.
Yeah. Interesting week coming up, and just another kind of interesting schedule quirk here with Saskatchewan. They play Sunday afternoon, the 22nd, Friday night, the 27th, and then Saturday night, the 28th. So they have 3 games in 6 days.
Oh, jeez. They had something like that. Was it last year?
Last year as well, too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Philly, Buffalo, Rochester in 6 days.
Ouch. That gets harder and harder as it goes along, too.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, that'll show everybody what they're made of. If they come through that 3-0, let's get the green on the trophy already, because they're one resilient bunch. As long as I remember saying this to a couple of the bandits last year when they were doing 12 games in 10 weeks, is the way it's going. As long as they could stay healthy, they'll be just fine. And I think that's the mantra now for Saskatchewan. As long as they can stay healthy, I think it's the course of future is in their hands.
And they beat Vancouver without Holden Garland, one of their best defenders.
Right. All right, last words to you, Mike.
Okay, Georgia just went final 11-6 over Calgary. I'm just going to give the pick'em since
Pick'em is up.
Yep, that's the most important thing, is it not? Winning this week, Caden with a 7-1 record.
Wow.
What?
Shawn went 6-2. I went 5-3. Gary and Pat both went 4-4. Season totals, we have Shawn leading at 44-23, Pat at 42-25, Gary's at 40-27. Caden's big week puts him in fourth place at 38-29, and hello basement, I am 37-30.
Hey, something about
How many
500.
games above 500, Mike?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that'll change in week 14.
That's pretty
We'll go
impressive,
0-10.
for the weeks that we've had recently. Our worst is 7 games above 500. That's pretty impressive still.
Yeah.
I have no qualms with that. That I was 4-4. The gods. Because it sure didn't look like that going in. Oh, man. When I was looking at that yesterday for a while.
Yeah, and then, boy, these numbers would have looked a whole lot different if Vancouver had won that game in overtime.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
All you guys would have lost a pick, and I would have gained another. So.
Yep.
Oh, well.
I almost had two games like that where I picked against the grain.
He did. He rolled against the grain. One of these weeks you're going to do that, Mike, and we're all going to be screwed. He's going to have a big week.
Just find the right week. Find the right week.
I've been swinging. I'm sure it's going to be in that week of 10 games. Michael picked 6 games that are completely different. They'll all come in, and we're going to sit and watch. Our new leader is Mike. It'll be there. Don't worry.
From the outhouse to the penthouse.
Away you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Anyways, my last words is just simply I just want that the league. I would like to see them in Toronto next week, just in case. Some representative in there, just to let everybody know, because I don't want to see anything get marred. I love the way these teams are playing, and I don't want to see this turn into a night at the fights. I enjoy it every now and again. It's all cool, but for the right reasons. This would be just stupid. So let's just make sure that our everything, our ducks are in a row. Let's make sure that we have our priorities straight on what we want people to see as we're trying to push this game for everyone to see. It's all fine. We've seen it on ESPN, a goalie fight. We've seen the hit from Hartley, and that's been on ESPN too. I want to see again some of these great goals and showing the action, showing what we love about the damn game. I love the physicality too, and don't get me wrong, I love a good fight too, but for the right reasons. Anyways, let's leave it there. It's been a great week, guys. Thank you very much as always.
Absolutely.
For Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw, and for Muffler Mike in Connecticut, I'm Gary Groob in Toronto, wishing you the best of weeks until we meet again next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Remember to keep your sticks high, keep your spirits higher. Have a great week, and we'll see you all again.